Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Caitlin Clark inadvertently, in her debut on NBC, talking about the NBA, exposed a potentially huge problem that many of us are worried about when it comes to Caitlin Clark's WNBA future, the season coming up, and how she is going to play and what it's going to mean for her, both her style of play, but also her productivity as a player in terms of helping her team. And this is something that I've talked about numerous times over the past couple of years. Ben Daniels talked about it. Rhodes over at Black and White Sports 2 has talked about it many times. In fact, I went looking on my site because I thought, oh, what are some of the clips that were on this topic? And I started scrolling through, just searching on Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark, and it is like, wow. Well, first of all, there were a lot of views, which was cool. Reminder that it did happen, but it was just so many ridiculous things in terms of red flags for to use a phrase people know now, in terms of Stephanie White and how she wanted to use Caitlin Clark and how she wanted to change Caitlin Clark's game and change the way Caitlin Clark played, basically eliminating all the things from her game that all of us were attracted to in the first place and the reason that we watched her play. So let's get into what she said last night, why I say that connects to the potential problems going forward with Stephanie White, and give you a reminder about that as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as we move forward in this video as well. And please, if you have subscribed, do me a favor, check, make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube is getting wonky. Like I said, I mean, I'm like negative a lot of subscribers. I don't think my content has changed that much, but it's never happened before. Talking to others as well, it's happening to them too. So it's not just me. So make sure you are still subscribed. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I do appreciate that as well. So first, let's get into Caitlin Clark being asked who in the NBA reminds her, and you can see the writing, who she mentions, and that is of course Luka. But I want to listen to this, talk about why, and then give you a little bit of a reminder of some of the things Stephanie White has said and why this is a potential problem.
A player or someone you watch even more specifically because there's things in his game maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. I mean, Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is like, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get his defender to move where he wants him to go and he takes up that space and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. Like I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me. So I think obviously he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double. So he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not that easy.
Yeah, he is coming off a triple-double. You got a player or someone you
Now, I know, first of all, now I agree with what Caitlin Clark is saying here, and I'll explain why, because I know a lot of people like to talk about Steph Curry, right? Caitlin Clark, Steph Curry, Caitlin Clark, Steph Curry, Steph Curry, Caitlin Clark. And I get it because they both changed the game, the men's and the women's, in terms of their range, where they can shoot from, what was actually considered a relatively speaking, a good shot for those players compared to what it's always been for everyone else in the league. But here's the thing, and I think this does a disservice to Caitlin Clark, especially with Stephanie White. If you get Stephanie White thinking about that, because Steph Curry plays a lot of basketball off of the ball. Okay. But the offense is designed to have him running off screens, running off picks, and getting open to take his shots, which we know when Caitlin Clark's off the ball, it's not designed to get her looks at the basket. It's designed to use her as a decoy, to use her as a screen, to get her beat up off the ball, and to have her not be part of the offense. But she doesn't obviously have Luka's size, but her game is much more like Luka. I mean, you talked about the triple doubles. Caitlin Clark is a high scorer. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenal passer. She gets a ton of assists. Like Luka, she is a player who has a high usage rate, who needs to have a high usage rate to get the most out of her game, to be the most effective in terms of helping her team. She needs to have the ball in her hands almost all of the time, almost every possession. Now, are there times she can be off the ball and someone else can bring it up and get her the ball? Absolutely. but predominantly she needs to be bringing up the ball. She needs to have the ball in her hands almost at all times. When I say almost at all times, I mean in terms of running the offense. Okay. She can bring the ball up and obviously get assists like she does and do other things. So I don't mean, 90% of the time the ball's literally in her hands, but she needs to have it a lot and she needs to be the one bringing it up the court most of the time. She needs to touch it every possession and so on. And that is the type of player Luka is. Caitlin Clark could very easily in this league be a triple double player. Not she gets them here and there, but possibly potentially averaging. Maybe not because I don't know if the rebounds will necessarily be that high. Sometimes it's just the way the ball bounces, but she could be close to averaging a triple double and someone who gets one on a more regular basis than what we have seen. And I got a couple of things. Let me see if I have the right one here. Hold on one second. Let me find it. Okay, there were so many different things to go through, so I picked out a couple. This is an important one. This is Caitlin Clark talking about Stephanie White's impact on her as a coach after I can't remember which game, but take a listen and we will talk about this if I
But I
can.
think that's even been something like me and Steph have like always talk about when we go and watch film, and even like that New York game where like I played really, really well. Obviously scored a lot of points. I think I had 9 assists or 10 assists that game. This just this last game this year. I started the fourth quarter off with like 3 turnovers in a row or 2 turnovers in a row, and Steph yanked me, and she was like this is like a learning moment. Like you got to be able to like, yes, like maybe it could have been there. Like maybe you could have thrown a little bit better of a pass. Maybe they could have caught it, but like, do we need that in this moment? Like no. Right. And then she subbed me back in, and there was a play where I kind of got a steal and like we're going in transition and Kelsey Mitchell just like takes off down the middle of the floor. And so there's like 2 people kind of by her. And I literally like go to grab the ball and then I like just dribble out. And I like literally just start smiling so big. And I look at Steph and I like told her after the game. That better be on film. Yeah, I'm like, you don't understand how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, oh, I know. Trust me. Everybody was like, we saw you about to throw that. But I think it's just like kind of a learning process. And it goes back to like even my shot thing. Like it's just time and score and understanding. I think that's like where I can still kind of improve. Like, do we really need that like sequence of a game? Like, have we just scored twice or have we just missed 2 shots?
And she absolutely should have thrown that pass. As you can see, it wasn't even a difficult pass. This was not a high risk pass for potential reward. This was a gimme bucket to Kelsey Mitchell in transition. You saw how long Kelsey Mitchell was wide open under the basket, even after Caitlin started dribbling away. And Kelsey Mitchell, after all this time playing with Caitlin Clark, is probably like, what just happened? But to me, again, this is a great example of Stephanie White wanting to take away what makes Caitlin Clark great. What makes Caitlin Clark the draw that she is, and wants to turn her. It was interesting to, as you saw briefly there, who was doing the interview, who wants to turn her into Sue Bird, who was boring as hell, who should not be in the Hall of Fame. That says a lot more about the quality of the league. I mean, she was like what, 11 points, 5 assists a game was her career average or something like that. Caitlin Clark is no Sue Bird. They're not even in the same universe. Now let's back up to one other thing that we had, and this was Stephanie White talking about Luka and talking about the Dallas Mavericks maybe actually being better without him. You all know how that worked out. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this because it's got some video of an NBA game because she's talking while it's being played, so it might be blacked out. But the important thing is listening to what she says.
A wrist sprain in that game and has been out since. And that puts a lot on the plate of players like Spencer Dinwiddie, who just came in, who finds Marshall for the corner three.
Well, you see the Mavs just play differently without Luka on the floor. He's a guy who's high usage rate, the ball's in his hands. When he's not on the floor, that ball is moving, it's popping. Multiple players getting involved in action, and everyone's stepping up.
Lower usage rate.
Hear that? Y'all hear that? She was excited about that too, right? About everyone else getting touches and the ball moving a lot and popping and everyone getting involved and all that. She's downgrading Luka's contributions as a player because he has the ball in his hands a lot. Some players are great and great for their team as high usage players. Others, not so much. Caitlin Clark absolutely is. And this, once again, just another example of what we worry about going forward with Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White and this partnership. I'm inserting this into the video because I meant to actually share this as well. This is the Valkyries coach talking about her approach to using Caitlin Clark on the court.
But then you brought her back to make some big plays down the stretch. Did you prepare her in any way for the return?
Yeah, I told her I don't care if she turns the ball over. I said, I know she's not trying to turn the ball over. Like I said, sometimes she's just getting physically bumped. So if she gets physically bumped, like what's going to happen? Ball, she might lose the ball. I told her, I don't care. I said, I'm going to put you back in and you're going to kick some ass. And that's what she did. You know, I just kind of gave her a breather, like, because they were kind of being super physical. So I said, hey, I'm just going to give you a breather. You're going to go right back in. I trust her completely. I trust her with making the calls. She's brilliant down the stretch. She's very brilliant down the stretch. And no, she likes big plays. You know, she is not scared to do that step back three. She is not scared. And so you need players like that. You need players who can close. Yeah.
Last one.
Contrast that with Stephanie White, how she talks about Caitlin Clark, like we just went through. I'm just saying. I mean, look, we will see. I don't know for sure what is going to happen. We didn't get a chance. We talked about it a lot last year because of these things that were said. We didn't get a chance to really see it. But again, one last reminder, as you know, Stephanie White, absolutely. Speaking of that New York game, Stephanie White was already pissed because she hated that first half. She hated that Caitlin dropped 25 in the first half. She hated those 4 threes from the next town over. She hated that there were 3 of them from the next town over within 30 seconds. You could see it on the side. Don't tell me. I know body language when it comes to athletes and coaches. Been seeing it and been a part of it my entire life. Stephanie White was pissed. By the way, who else do you know? You ever see her yank Kelsey Mitchell for a couple turnovers? You ever see her yank Kelsey Mitchell for some forced shots, maybe? Hell no. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out the video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. Come on now. I will talk to you later.